So I'm going to be speaking directly to all of you early childhood educators, and I'm going to be comparing how you can have a quality early childhood education program with using the early childhood education competency standards and the book that we've been reading, Intentional Teaching by ECED. So first, we're going to look at one of the core components of the competency standard, which is facilitating child development and learning. And the first subset we're going to look at is learning through play. So as a teacher, if you were to reach the highest level of what the competency standards is asking for, you're going to be researching how you can best do intentional teaching. This is going to be learning through play. You're going to be facilitating collaboration with you as an early childhood educator and your families that are part of your program. Next, which is really cool, is there's a subset called intentional teaching. And what the early childhood competency standard says is that you're going to be articulating differences between the child-initiated and the adult-initiated activities. And you need to have clear idea of what both of those are going to look like. You need to follow the child's lead. You need to engage them in the activities that you have already presented. And then this just ties in so greatly with the book's definition of intentional teaching. Here you need to have a clearly defined learning objective. You need to have instructional strategies that help the child achieve those objectives. And once you do all of that, you need to make sure that you're going back and reflecting and seeing, did this actually turn out how I wanted it to? Okay, and then next we're going to be talking about one of the subsets is called, from the early childhood competency standards, is individualized developmental expectations. So this is something where you're going to be guiding, once you reach the highest level possible, you're going to be guiding your fellow teachers in developmentally appropriate practices. Because how are we going to teach intentionally if we do not know where our children are at? And you're going to want to make sure that you are building awareness for diversity, for children with exceptional needs. And a really great quote that I found from the book was, children should always have an option to play alone, because sometimes it's just too much for them to be in that group. So you need to provide opportunities for them to separate themselves and have an environment where they can be by themselves. And again, intentional teaching, you guys, you need to make sure you provide these places for them. Next, we're going to look at schedules and daily routines. So we need to make sure that we're setting them up for success. We need to make sure that we are following those daily schedules. Don't just make something and then go willy-nilly. Of course, be flexible. If there is an intentional teaching moment where you are an outside play and they all see this wonderful butterfly or a wonderful caterpillar, yes, take the time to talk about that. Tie in the science of that. Do not just say, okay, well, it's time to go back inside, you guys. Sorry, we need to leave the butterfly alone. No, make a moment for that. That is exactly what flexibility is. And then you need to make sure you have, a small group time. You have time introduced for those transitions. And the intentional teacher would use a variety of activities. They would use a variety of grouping. So make sure you have a good group size, maybe 2 or 3 at one group and all of the class at the other. And then, of course, adjust for children with special needs. Anything you do, you need to make sure that is appropriate for all of the children in your classroom. And then once you complete all of this, there are things that you can do. You can reflect, right? So you can go back and you can see, did I do this correctly? How can I improve it? And something that I would really like to highlight, even maybe before you do all of this, I know some of you guys might have been teaching already, but if you are a new teacher, before you do any of this, do observation. The competency standards calls us to this. So make sure that you are observing these children, seeing what they are interested in, seeing what the best schedule is going to look like for them, and then implement that. Again, another competency standard. Implement what you have learned. Make sure that they are engaged at almost every activity. Of course, they're not going to be at every single one, but you can try. Shoot for the stars, you guys. It is so fun to see these children learning. So I hope you learned a little bit today, and I look forward to talking to you guys in this class.